And what's up, guys? Welcome to another Home Theater Hangout. I've got a couple of special guests today. I've got returning visitor, Hatoraid, Cowboy. What's up, Hatoraid?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, Shane?
Nothing much. Just hanging out with you guys. And then we have first-timer to the channel, Mr. Tony James of Build Montage. How's it going, Tony?
Going well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Very good, man. Very good. So I wanted to have you guys on here tonight because I don't know if all of us have reached our endgame systems or not, but I think probably we've met our endgame processors in the fact that we do have Trinov. And I know a lot of you guys watching tonight are probably like, oh my God, these guys are talking about Trinov. We can't afford Trinov. Listen, we thought the same thing years ago as well. A little bit of saving up that spare change, and listen, here we are right now. So, you have some aspirations. You can make them come true. Not that everybody needs a Trinov, but it's pretty nice to have. So I just want to get you guys on here and just talk about some of your experiences, and maybe your journey of where you started from in your processor receiver game, and then what did you find was such a big benefit from moving from those processors and receivers to having a Trinov? Like, what was it for you guys? I think Tony's had it for a little bit longer than Jordan has. So, Tony, why don't you go first? Where'd you come from in your AVR game?
Sure. I mean, I started with a Pioneer VSX-LX 503, so it's decent, not very powerful, decent processing. Audio was good. I still have it in my main room, like my lounge room. So it still gets used now, but then went to a Denon 8500. That was impressive, but as anyone that is in this hobby knows, you're always pushing for endgame. It's just one of those things. Never thought I would ever be able to afford a Trinov, but when I first heard of Trinov, I did a room tour back in, I think it was 2021, and it was a Crix MX30, which is the big speaker wall, big drivers, big 18-inch subs behind the wall, and I heard it with a Trinov, and it was like something I'd never heard before. Like I remember watching John Wick Part 2 when he slams into the car at the beginning and the glass breaks and shattered everywhere. And for me, that was a defining moment. And at that point, I became obsessed with one day owning one. So I went down the path of basically saying, okay, well, I need separates. So I started there and I invested in the separates. And then a short time later, an opportunity came to buy a Trinov. And I haven't looked back. So that was in 2022 or 2023. I can't remember exactly because time flies and I'm really bad with time. But yeah, it's been the single biggest upgrade for my room that I put in. And now I have waveforming. So I went the extra steps and set waveforming up with a 5 sub configuration. And the bass is just off the chain. And the tactile punch that you get from it's just incredible. But that's been the journey. Summarized in a couple of sentences.
That's good. That's good. That's good. What about you, Jordan?
Let's see. I'll try to make this quick. So my first ever separate was a Onkyo TX608, and that was probably 2005-ish, somewhere around there. Had that, and then I upgraded to a couple more Onkyo receivers, networked. And I remember, I had a 1030, and that had it was weird. It only had, I think, 2 XLRs. So it was the left and the right. It wasn't even the center. It was really weird. But that made me start, looking into hey, what is this? So then I started researching that, and I was like, oh, if I get some separates, I can kind of offload the power on the amps. Because one of the problems I was having is whenever I would turn it up, it would clip and it would shut off, and I didn't know what it was. And so I started doing research, started looking into separates, and then eventually I upgraded to what was it? A Pioneer Elite SC95. That was a big leap, and I was like, oh, this sounds better. And then when I moved into this house, I got a Anthem MRX 720, and that was a big leap with Arc Genesis and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, this sounds pretty good. And so by that point, I wasn't even using the internal amps. I was using external amps with Emotiva, so I was used to that. But I was kind of using it as a processor, but I never really knew what a processor sounded like. And then I got the RMC1, the Emotiva. That was another. I know it sounds ridiculous that you can't keep the audio doesn't get better, but it does. So when I got the RMC1, I was like, oh man, this just opened up my room, and was loving that. And then when I got the opportunity to review the Trinov, I guess I kind of knew that it was gonna sound different, but I've heard Trinovs in other people's homes and other people's showrooms and stuff. But when I hooked it up, even just before I even ran calibration, I noticed a difference. And then after I ran calibration, and I'm still kind of tweaking, there's just a different audio signature to it and the way that it sounds. Which we can talk some more about it later. Some of the stuff that I've noticed, but big leap. So I started small, with the receiver, and this is in game for me. So
I think Jordan has got I think he might be reviewing a Storm audio processor soon, quite possibly.
quite possibly.
I haven't personally heard one myself in my own room. I'm not sure. Have you, Tony? Have you heard a Storm in your personal space or?
Not in my personal room, but I have listened to Storm many times, different rooms I've toured, and yeah, they're great. The system I heard it was with a digital system, so it was they were digital active speakers and they were
Mhm.
using Cat 6 cables, so it was
Yeah.
very different
Yeah.
experience. But yeah, I mean, I think Storm is pretty much right up there with Trinov.
Yeah. What was your reasoning behind going with the Trinov rather than a Storm? Did you hear, in your experiences, have you heard anything like major that made you say, I need to go with this instead of that?
I think with Trinov, a lot of what it was for me was that initial sort of introduction to it when I did this room tour of this room that had the Cricket MX30 system, big system. It sounded great, fantastic, and it kind of got me hooked. There's a specific, and you guys will know this. There's a real signature to the way the Trinov renders, especially the high
Yeah.
frequencies, which are just very detailed. I think the only word I can use really to describe it is detailed. And
Mm.
I was just chasing that detailed sound. And Crix is an Australian speaker company here in Australia, manufacturer, and they are the distributor for Trinov as well. So their speakers go very well together. And I'm a massive Crix fan. I'm kind of a very loyal type of person. Like once I hear something I like, I like order the same thing off the menu. Like I'm that kind of person. So for me, yes, I've heard things like Anthem sounds great. All my friends have Anthems and they sound great. And, they are pretty detailed. But for me, there's just once that optimizer button gets pressed and you're just listening to something like I was mentioning with John Wick 2, when you hear the glass breaking and you hear that very high resolution, very detailed sound. And I listened to that on my Denon and it just wasn't there. So that crispiness that you get, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Same with the Pioneer, even Anthem. I tested an Anthem in here, and I didn't hear that. Storm, definitely in the room that I listened to the Storm in. It was in Australian dollars, it was pushing about $700,000. This room, it's on my channel. Like I can put a link later, but this room
Yep.
was a very high end room, so with very expensive speakers. And look, in terms of processing, it's very difficult to say, oh, this one's better than that one. I guess it just comes down to the sound signature that you like. And for me, a lot of it has to do with the speakers as well, and obviously partnering the Crick speakers with the Trinov processor is just a very good match. And Cricks have actually partnered with Trinov over in ISC. I went with them in 2023 to ISC in Spain, and I covered their room. This was before it even was called Waveforming. I actually covered it off, interviewed the CEO of Trinov, and I was there as their guest, I guess, and I was filming, what was going on there with Waveforming, the first experience of Waveforming. And that's what I mean. That saying it's just the processor is a little bit of a misnomer, because I think it does matter what you pair it with. Like if you go and get a cheap pair of, Yamaha speakers and put it with a Trino, I think it will get the best out of them. But I also think it's good to pick your speakers and try to match them as best as you can. And for me, that was Crix, and that's why that combination for me, it didn't really make sense for me to go for a Storm or any other kind of processor.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed a difference when I had I'm not saying I was one of the first YouTubers to have a Trinov, but I might have been.
I think you were.
I think you were.
But yeah, I went through like a bunch of them because when I started off, I used to work at Magnolia, so I got pretty good discounts there. So that's how basically I started off my YouTube career. I
Best
would buy
Buy.
stuff and then I would return them, and then after a while, brands started sending me their stuff. So I went through like Audio Control, Integra, the high-end Marantz, NAD, and then finally I had the opportunity to pick up a Trinov, and I was like, I remember seeing those videos back from 2015 with the mic, and then the price was like 25 grand or something like that at the time, and I was like, oh my god, this is never gonna be a reality. But listen, man, after COVID hit, it became a reality. I made it happen, and I think the first thing I popped in was Power Rangers. And this was even before I like level matched or anything. And I was just like, oh, this is different. This is real different. It was just like Tony said, just the detail, just alone. I don't know what it is, whatever their processing is, but the detail just really just snaps right into focus. This is not even level matching, not even running the optimizer. I was just like, oh, this is just better. It's just the soundstage was bigger. And obviously, you run the optimizer, you get all your levels matched, and it's just like, it's everything that I think we all get into the game for, why we love cinema for. Maybe probably better than cinema because I haven't heard an actual commercial cinema sound as good as my place does. So I think, for me personally, that's my takeaway. Is it a subjective thing? Sure, yeah, it's a subjective thing. But I think all of us, we've gone through a bunch of different receivers and processors, either in our own places or like Tony and Jordan. Obviously, you guys have been to more home theater tours than I have been into, so you've heard a lot of different size rooms and different systems and configurations. So I think we all have, a good reference point of what we're listening to, and it's not just, oh, it costs a lot of money, so it's got to sound good.
Yeah.
Sure, there may be a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of, what's the term here? Is it really worth $40,000? I mean, that's
So I know
that's a touchy
whenever
thing.
whenever I started like really deep diving into like when I realized that there was a whole nother realm with home theater, when I started getting some, like my basic stuff, I think it was probably when I was trying to upgrade from my TX 608. I started researching and I'm like, okay, I'll start learning about, the formats and decoding and all that stuff. And I remember I came across Trinov, and same thing with you, Shane. Like I found the website or saw an article or something, and I saw the microphone. I'm like, oh man, this like I've never seen anything like this. What is this? And I could tell just by looking at it. I was like, this looks awesome, but this looks kind of expensive. And I was thinking like, and I was like a couple years out of high school, so I was working. My first job was at Best Buy too. But I'm thinking like, okay, maybe it's probably like, 6 or 7 grand. I still can't afford that, but maybe it'll be something to achieve too. And then when I found out the price and I was like, $25,000, it was like an automatic click off, like, all right, I'm not even gonna consider that. But I was like, how does this thing cost? It can't sound that much better. Like, why does it cost that much? It's only for rich people. Like I had all those ideas in my head. And so over the years when I would do research, I always see Trinov. I'm like, man, that must be nice. And didn't know what it sounded like. It wasn't until I think the first time I heard it was probably when I went to maybe Cedia, the first Cedia. And obviously those showrooms are massive. They're $1 million, some of them. And I was like, dang, this sounds incredible. Like people have this in their homes. And so, then I started, I don't know if I'm trying to think if I've done a home theater tour that actually has a Trinov. I know a couple of people have a Storm. I think the only time I've heard Trinov was like at CDO or at a showroom or something like that. So to get it in my theater, and it's you can't. It's really hard to describe someone like Tony was saying how it actually sounds. The signature, it sounds different. It sounds better, but it sounds different. The atmosphere, the atmospherics, the acoustics, like one of the things that I noticed when I first set it up, I was watching, was it Conclave? That's the one that came out, right? The movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother topic on that movie. But I remember I was watching it, and there's many scenes where they're sitting around in like the dining room area, and
Yep.
like I noticed instantly, like the off-camera people when they're eating and they're drinking, that stuff was so prominent. Like you could hear people talking, you could hear the conversations, you could hear the clinking of the the forks and knives and stuff like that. And I was like, I've heard other scenes where they're at a restaurant or somewhere, and it doesn't sound like that. It was really eye opening. It was really really weird.
Yeah, Conclave when they're in the cafeteria, I think,
Yeah,
and it's almost like real life where you'll hear like chitter chatter in the back
yeah,
or footsteps and stuff going around, and just the space, the sound stage, just
yeah.
really pristine and clean.
And there's
And
been
I don't know if it's just like the DAC or whatever. I mean, I haven't updated DACs, my DACs. I don't know you, Tony, if you have a newer version or what, but it's just yeah, whatever the processing. I mean, I think John had talked about it before, like they've worked with Dolby, so they have like whatever that code is, the golden
golden
code for
code.
their
Yeah,
process. Yeah,
Yeah, they
so
have the
that is
source
in the
code.
Trinov.
They have direct access to the source code. They're the only one
Yeah,
I think that has
yeah.
it.
And I think I remember watching that stream. I think he was saying that like with even with Storm, they rely on a chip. So they're all those receivers and processors, they're all limited by the chip, whereas the Trinov
mm,
is software based. So they don't really have any limitations as to what they can do. And like if a new format comes out, I mean they can pretty much update it pretty much instantly. So yeah, I don't know how they're doing it, what they're doing, but I mean there was numerous times where I'm watching something and I'm like, is that outside? And I'll pause it. I'm like, play it again. I'm like, oh no, that's in the track. Like that sounds like it's coming from outside my house. That's crazy.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very detailed sound. One thing I noticed is, especially in my room, I'm not sure on the dimensions how to translate them, but I don't have a very big room. And the one thing that the Trinov did for my room was to, especially because it's a full immersion Batcave style room, when the lights are off, you can't see anything. And basically, when you're looking at it, you think, oh, it's very close. But as soon as the lights go out and you're watching something, it just expands that
Hmm.
soundstage out like
yeah,
in a big way. And the other thing, just to touch on what Jordan was saying earlier, the like DTSX Pro, for example, it's still not out on Anthem yet. And I remember Trinov got it somewhere like 2 years prior to,
Wow.
because they could just do the up. I don't know if you remember, Shane, because you had one before me, but it was an update. It was just
yeah,
DTSX Pro was just an update over the wire.
yeah,
And most other processors, I mean, Den and Marantz have it now, but I remember it was a
yeah,
good 2 years, I believe, before anyone else got it, because it's all baked into the chip. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, there's so many benefits of Trinov, and I know from talking to Tom Garrett, who works at Trinov. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's a big Welsh guy. I won't call him English because if he sees this, he'll get really angry. Um, but he was saying that the original Altitude 32, number 11, I believe, the 11th one they made, is still in production right now. It's still out there. It's being
yeah,
used in shows, and it does everything that the current day ones do. I mean, of course, it
That's
probably needs
crazy.
the HDMI board updated to the 2.1 board. I've got the 2.1 board now.
yeah,
So that's pretty much it. But because it's software, it's just got that you can be buried with it. Essentially, it can follow you
yeah,
through your whole home theater journey. So by the time you think, okay, I bought a Denon, and Australian dollars aside, say you spent $7,000 to $10,000 if you want the flagship Denon, then that gets outdated. You've got to buy another one. By the time you go through
yeah.
that journey of different receivers and processors, you could have bought a Trinov,
Hmm.
and you can just keep updating it if you need to, and it's just going to last.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind of
think.
like I mean, I almost had gotten a Storm myself, but then I know they had like a Mark One or a first gen, and then
Mm.
I want to say like a year or two later they had a new one. I was like, oh, there's a new one already. And then I feel like last year they announced another one, and didn't we just get a new update for like there's another one?
There's another one, and then there's a receiver now too. So
Yeah. So I mean, that's like 3 or 4 iterations right there. While Trinov is still on the same platform, on the same chassis. So
Same
it's like
processor.
same exact processor
Like that's
from
crazy. Like
2015.
in the
To
computer
be
world, that doesn't happen. Like you're using this like you have a processor for 3 or 4 years and it starts to just slow down.
Yeah. To be fair to Storm, though, there is upgrade path. So you can look into it. There is definitely an upgrade path for Storm, to be fair to them. There you can upgrade components and you can change the DAX and things like that. I've seen because I had to ask, and it does look a little bit less elegant than the Trinov. Like if you look at the back, it's all plates, like different like bolt-on plates on the back. But I mean, that's just the look. I mean, they do sound great. I've heard them enough times to know they are great. Like it's
Yeah.
not. I wouldn't want to sit here bashing Storm because I've chosen Trinov, but it's good to have competition at that high level because that just pushes innovation and pushes them to do things. Because I mean, look at waveforming. Waveforming is an innovation that has been pushed in both sides. Dirac has their own form of active room correction, as now Trinov has waveforming. You can pick your flavor. I prefer the sound from waveforming, but yeah, it's good to have that competition because without it, you can stifle innovation.
Yeah. I would feel like if I had a first gen Storm and they had, 2 more iterations after, I would have a little bit of FOMO, even if it was upgradable, because I know the newer ones look a lot cooler. I
They
would just be
do,
like,
yeah.
I'd be like, man, I have to sell mine now just to get this one. So,
Yeah, same thing happened to me whenever cuz I had been looking at Anthem for a while and just didn't have the funds. And then when I moved into my house, I was like, you know what, I'm going to sell a couple stuff. And then I think I had gotten a bonus at work, and I was like, all right, I can finally buy one. Um, so I had been looking at it for a couple years and didn't have the money for the processor, but I got the receiver. And then I want to say within 6 months or that year, they announced the next version. And so I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, I just bought this thing. I mean, I was happy with it. I didn't have like FOMO, but I was like, I'm the type of person I like to buy if I can buy the latest model. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm stuck now. And I enjoyed it. It was great. And but yeah, so that's crazy to me that the Trinov is still using the same processor.
and if they obviously if they were going to move to a different processor, I'm 100% certain we can just ship it in and get a new processor upgraded to it. Not that
Yeah,
I don't know
you probably have
what
to
we
change the
would benefit
motherboard,
from
but
that.
yeah.
I mean, there's only one thing with the Trinoff that really bothers me about it is that 2-3 second delay when we start a movie.
Yeah, you talking
That
about
is
with the
like
amps?
no, just if you play a movie, it just doesn't click on.
Yeah,
But are you using it with a video processor? Because that can often
I
be
am.
where I've noticed a bit of a delay. Like I've got a Lumagen, and I notice it's good, especially if you're pushing SDR. So you're running it in the SDR container, and you're not worrying about the sync. I noticed it's a lot faster. And if you use the audio out, are you using MadVR? I'm assuming, Jordan.
Yes, I have the Mad VR core.
Cool, cool. So that's I don't believe that one has an audio out, does it?
I
It just goes straight into the. It's just one out, as in HDMI,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
out,
I think so.
audio
Cause
and
and
video.
then all the rest of them are display ports. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so you can split like on the Lumagen I've got. You can split the audio out. So for me, and it's been like that for a while, I only use the Trinov for audio. I don't use it for any video processing at all. So straight out. And I've noticed there was a slight delay, but obviously you can change it on the Trinov. You can set the master, the processor. You go into the master and you can set your global delay, and then save it in your preset. So I've accounted for that, and I find I don't get quite 2 seconds now. I get a little bit less, but I think a lot of that has to do with the video processor and the syncing.
Yeah, because I mean, it does it's automatically it has to delay the signal so that it can do its stuff and
Mm,
that. So I understand that. My thing is, so I have everything HDMI 2.1 now. I have my projector is HDMI 2.1. The Trinov that I have is the HDMI 2.1, and then I believe the core does HDMI 2.1. I remember whenever they started talking about when HDMI 2.1 come out with eARC or just with 2.1 period, it was supposed to eliminate the whole like 6 7 black the handshake with the E did. I haven't noticed that. And I don't know if there's like some specific settings or something that you have to configure, but I was always under the impression that with HDMI 2.1, that's supposed to be negligible, like a second or less. But I haven't really noticed that. But I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Yeah, I
yeah, I
don't know.
think
I get at least a 2-3 second, whether I got a processor in the chain or not. So
same for me.
I mean, my big thing is if I press play, if I'm doing the Kaleidoscape or the Zidu, once I hit play, usually I'll just click back really quick after it catches the first time, and then all is fine.
You can
Now,
I
set
mean, there's
delays.
not too many things.
are you
I
getting
don't know. I mean,
are you
yeah,
getting
I
the
mean,
second?
I've spoken to their engineer. Like they know about it. They're like it's on the list of things to do, but it's not a priority.
It's
So I
fairly
mean, like
common.
they know.
It's
Yeah,
fairly common with a lot of processors, though. I mean, in the Zadu, you do have that ability to delay the audio for a certain amount of seconds. So for them to build that in means it's generally a fairly common sort of problem. But I
yeah,
agree. It would be lovely to just hit the play button, bang, and
yeah.
it just plays instantly. That's the next holy grail I think we're after. But yeah,
So
It's not like a huge deal, but it's a
right.
little niggle, a
The
little
other, I
something.
think it was yesterday or the day before, because I was going in there and I was playing with the settings for whatever reason, and I don't know what happened, but I went into because I remember when I had my HD Fury, I did that. I went into the Zadu and I changed the whatever it's called to where it'll basically you won't it'll delay it so that by the time you see it, there's no delay. I went in there the other day with the Trinov and the Zdu, and I cannot find the setting whatsoever. I went through all, and I'm like, I know it was here because I know I've changed it, and now it's just gone. So I'm not sure what happened with that.
which models of do you have?
The same one you got that we all have, the 8000,
Okay. Yeah, I
and
know they did take a few things out of it. That could be one of them
it
because
was
I know
there
they.
before.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't actually checked because, like a, I saw someone in the chat say it's not the video processor because it's PC based. That might be true for Mad VR, but not Lumagen. Lumagen is a custom PCB. It doesn't run on a Windows computer like Mad VR.
Hmm.
So, just answering one of the questions in there, or one of the statements in there.
Well, I was going to ask you too, Shane, because I'm curious. So on mine, I get audio almost immediately, and it's the video that it's like three. Is yours the same way, or you get no audio and video?
I get no audio. I'll get the picture will come in first, and then the
Really?
Same.
audio will
See,
click
Yeah,
in.
mine's
I
the
guess it's
opposite.
the same.
Mine is the opposite. I had some friends over last weekend, and I was going through some clips, and like the audio would start, and the video would just be, it'd be like 2 or 3 seconds, and then it would come on. So that's weird. I wonder if maybe it's the Mad VR because you both of you guys have
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
well,
Lumagens.
images, right?
the Lumagen is
Yeah,
different because again, it's not a PC based operating
Right.
system.
yeah,
So and for it, look, it has to delay because
Right.
if you're thinking about it, like it's bitstream pass through, right? So the source is sending the audio via bitstream through the device. There's no processing till it hits the actual processor. So, but with the video, it's actually doing stuff. So obviously, there's going to be a delay. So by the time it gets the signal, of course, it has to delay it. There's no
Hmm.
real way around it. But I think that might be different to what Shane's talking about because I do have it. I have noticed there is a small delay, and yeah, and also if you have extended to +4, I don't know if you guys have the +4 on your Trinovs, but I've got the +4
yeah.
with the digital outs for because I've obviously got 5 subs now, so I'm using the full
Yeah.
20. You've got to make sure that the external DACs you're using don't pop on the rate change because that was one thing I noticed as well with the previous DACs I had. I just bought new ones because they'd be changing the rate, the polling rate, and it would go from say 48 to 96, and you hear this pop 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 when you're loading a movie. So
Yeah,
yeah,
mine
that
does
again,
that.
that's not the
Yeah.
Trinos fault. That's more the DACs, but yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, there's always going to be something.
Yeah. Which stacks did you have?
At Cambridge DAC Magics, which are supposed to mute. Basically, it's supposed to mute on the frequency change, but
Yeah.
it wasn't working. for me. So I've got I
Oh,
bought these new topping ones. Yeah, and they've got
uh,
12-volt triggers in them, which is really nice. That was one thing for
oh,
me. So to
really?
go into the rack and turn the DACs on was a bit annoying. So having the 12-volt triggers is pretty cool.
I love 12-volt
Huh. I've
triggers.
got the Cambridge too. I'm not sure if I noticed it a pop.
Yeah, it
Were
may be the
were
same, but
were you hearing the pop on the subs or on your speakers? On your speaker ups?
I'll grab it. I'll grab it.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, I got the same one. Yeah,
Yeah.
same one. Were you using that for your subs for your extra
No,
subs?
I'm using them now for the speakers because when and I've got a waveforming video coming out actually very soon for my room. It's just taken a while to finish it, but basically, when Michael from Crix came up to help me with it, the initial installation, he said, "Look, it's better. There's no look. It's just a recommendation." Trinov said, "Put all of your subwoofers directly into the Trinov." Um,
Mm.
it may not be necessary, but it was just their recommendation. Say, look, plug. So I got 5 subs, so it's like plug them all in. So I'm using my top front, top back, left and right, plus top middles as through the DAC Magics. And so what was happening is I was noticing this
Hmm.
when it was like when it was changing from
Mine
Yeah.
does
48.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you hear that or you don't hear that?
No, so mine actually does. I thought you were talking about like a popping. So I when I first started using mine, I asked Shane. I was like, "Hey, what is that? What is that clicking sound?" Whenever he was like, "Oh, that's the amps," because they sent me the amp too, the amplitude. And I'm like, "Does it do that every time it switches over to a different like codec or something?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I'm like, that's the only thing where I'm kind of like, I wish it didn't do that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's there is a delay with that too because sometimes the video will start. In some cases, the video will start and then I won't get any audio because I hear the clicking, and then it comes in. And like you said, I just do the same thing. I just hit skip back a couple times.
Mm. Yeah, maybe
Are
we're not
you?
talking about the same thing. I don't know. It's hard to. It's not a popping sound. It's not a clicking sound. It's hard to describe. I'm really bad at describing these things, but
It's like a little snap, right? Like
tiny little one, yeah. But I noticed
slightly snap. Yeah.
when I put the new DAX on, but I isolated it because I zeroed out all the speakers. Because another
Mm.
cool thing with Trinov, as you know, you can zero out your speakers, so you can then just say, "Hey, I want to see which speaker it's doing." So I was just there isolating them, and then I realized that it was only the speakers connected to the 2 DACs. So anyway, I went and bought these topping DACs off Amazon. They weren't expensive at all, just to test it out, and they had 12
Yeah.
volt triggers. And I only put them in about a week ago, and yeah, the clicking is kind of gone. So
Huh.
Hmm.
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna put my I've got an Eversolo DMP A6, like the first gen. I'm gonna obviously that's overkill for just for my subs, but I'm gonna try it in there
no,
anyways.
not overkill. That word doesn't exist. You know that. Doesn't exist.
So that's next on my thing. The I just got these Procella speakers in the P815s, so they have like the top half and then the 15-inch woofer to it. So right now I'm using 24 channels. So he sent me LCRs. So it's like now I have to get I've got to put the DMP A6 in because I actually need 3 extra channels, but I'm only gonna have 2 extra channels. So it's like I'm gonna be maxed out at all 28 channels. So I'm gonna have to dump my center rear just to test these out. So it's like the next thing is, do I add, because I have it out to 24, do I spend the extra spare change and get the other 8 channels because the extra 4 is
Yes.
not, it's not
Default
cutting it
answer
right now.
always yes. We'll always back you up. I do this with my mates when they ask me questions. Yes, always. You need it. You need it changed. You need to get it.
I know. And then it's like, I was like, when's enough, man? It's like, man, I've got like, who would have thought I would have this many, or that we would have these many speakers in our homes?
I know.
It's good, kind of crazy.
I was excited because I'm like, wow. So with the RMC one, I mean, Shane, I don't think you had that many speakers, but you've had the RMC one. Even
Yeah,
though the RMC one has 16 channels, you you can't. You have to decide between either like 6 height, or I think it's what, wides and 4 heights, or like 3 subs. Like I couldn't do all of them. I couldn't do 6 heights and 3 subs. I either had to have 4 heights, and then I think the other two were either like locked at wides or like another sub. I mean, I could have gotten. I didn't have it at the time. I just got one, but I could have gotten a mini DSP and did one. But I was like, man, that's just too much trouble. I didn't feel like dealing with it right now. But with the Trinov, I'm like, oh, cool. I can run all 3 of my subs and my heights at the same time. I don't have to do, I don't have to pick between. So that was cool. And then being able to go in there and tell, which speaker is which, because I was confused when I first plugged everything up. I was like, why am I getting sound out of this speaker over? What is going on over here? And then I figured out, I was like, oh, they're labeled on the cables. So I went in there, I saw which one it was which, went in there and changed all the numbers on the channels, and then it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. I mean, there is a learning curve if you've never used a Trinov, but I don't know if you guys are like this, but I'm tech savvy, so I like to figure stuff out on my own. And when I was talking to Trinov, they were like, hey, if you need any help, let us know. We'll walk you through it. And I was like, yeah. I said, I probably will, but I was like, I want to try to see how much of it I can figure out on my own. And they were like, no, we think that that's good for you to do that, to share with your audience. For me, it took me a couple hours, and then I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. And then there's been a couple of stuff where I've texted you, Shane, I'm like, hey, where's this at? But for the most part, once you play around with it, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, once you get into, I mean, once you dig into the filters and stuff, that can get a little bit more involved.
Yeah,
but
I haven't done
It's an
that.
onion. It's got a lot of layers, the Trinov. Once
Yeah.
you start digging into excursion curves and you start
Yeah.
doing waveforming, I don't know if you guys have put waveforming in yet, but
I don't. I
that's,
haven't.
yeah.
I think
You
Shane
haven't?
has. No, because I have 3 subs right now. So I have a 21 inch and 2 15 inches. But I'm supposed to get some other subs in the future that I think I'll be able to, because I still have my Stark Sound SW15s. I don't even have those hooked up right now. But I think in the future I may be able to do it. But right now I'm not using I'm not doing waveforming. I just don't have the setup for it.
Plus, I think he needs his neighbor's permission to do waveforming.
Yeah, man.
No. Don't need that. Come on. You're doing them a favor. Come on.
Yeah.
They get to share your awesome audio. That's how you got to look at it.
They're the bane of my existence right now. They haven't said anything. I've had a couple friends over the last couple weeks, and I don't know if they. So I did board up my windows. I put some acoustic stuff in there, and then I boarded up one of the windows. I put quiet rock, and then the other one I need to go back and put some other layers on there, but I used I forget what the name of it, but I closed off my windows, and I'm like, I know that's not going to help with the bass, but that should help because our windows are like directly across from each other, so they should only be experiencing the bass now. But I mean, I try to be courteous, I try to cut it off like at 10.
No. No.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you have issues with your neighbors, Tony, or how far are your
None.
neighbors from me?
No, I'm fortunate because my home theater is on the right hand side of my house, and all my side neighbors are not side neighbors. That's basically the backs of their homes, but onto the side of my theater. So we're talking about like 40 feet, 50 feet away. So from what the side of my house where all my audio
Is it
is
like a
coming
cul-de-sac?
from. No, it's just I'm just before the street turns.
Okay.
So the houses are then oriented the other
Nice.
way. So look, it was just fortuitous that it turned out that way. But honestly, it wouldn't bother me. Like I crank it at 1 a.m. My kids, my wife, they sleep through it. I've trained them. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I must.
We
admit.
can't. Me and Shane can't do that.
Can't do that no more.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you did that in an apartment, Shane. Like I don't know how you're.
I mean, at the apartment, nobody cared. I mean, I lived kind of in the ghetto, so I had some Hispanic people living behind me, so they would bump till 4 a.m. So if I was bumping, they wouldn't care. So it was good living there, but just the neighborhood was just really bad. But now I cut it off around 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock,
That's
maybe
when I
9
just
o'clock.
get into the room at 10. That's the earliest I can get in.
Yeah.
Dude, I've changed my sleep schedule to go to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock, just so I can wake up earlier, so I can use the home theater during the day.
I know this guy.
Are you when you do your room correction, are you correcting the entire frequency, or are you limiting it at a certain point?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, whoever.
Well, It's a good question. Hmm. I mean, when we're running the basically you set the mic up and you'd run the measure, you do the measurements, and then obviously from there it does, you know, the whole correction, and then waveforming. I guess there's another element. So you're talking about sub management or just the entire?
Just you know how with Dirac it has the curtain. So if you want to limit it to just like 500 hertz on below, or if you just want to do the whole thing.
Oh, you're talking about where you can cut. Like I think the Odyssey does that as well. You can put a cut at a
Yeah,
particular frequency.
yeah,
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 no,
yeah.
look, I don't remember, to be quite honest, because since I did that measurement, I also had my friend Michael from Cricks come up and do the last one. So,
Right.
and I was too busy filming, so I'm not sure exactly how we did it. But I know he's playing around with that, but I don't know. Is the correct answer? I don't really know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Depending on the speakers I have, if whatever I'm reviewing, sometimes maybe the tweeters are a little soft. Maybe the speaker's a little bit warm. I'll sometimes do a full correction, or like for the ones I have now, I really like the high frequency detail in the ribbons or the AMTs. So I might limit it to like 500 hertz just so I can get the natural airiness out of it rather than trying to, sometimes the Trinov will give it it'll kind of slope it down a little bit to try to take care of some of the edginess, I guess, whatever they want to kind of smooth it out on the top end. Obviously, you can go in and fix that yourself if you want, but
Yeah, I mean, I saw a comment there. What Don Fleming's saying is you can use the excursion curves. That's what I was talking about earlier. So you put the excursion curve in, and that will do a cut, so that you don't go past that. I mean, especially like even with subs, you've got the low pass, high pass filters. But yeah, for speakers, I think you're talking about just correcting up to a certain point, and then
yeah,
not worrying about what
yeah,
happens after that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I find like sometimes, sometimes you just like a certain way that a speaker sounds, and then room correction can sometimes take that away and try to alter the signature of that speaker. So
You can play with the
yeah,
target curve as well. Like
yeah,
it's funny, like the target curve, I was following. Like again, there's a particular little bump at a particular frequency, because, as I said, when my friend Michael from Cricks came up, because he knows those speakers, he sort of understands how, where where they excel at, and generally, like I've done little tweaks to the target curve because I like a little bit more sizzle, say around one kilohertz.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
nice little sizzle. So a little bit of a bump. But yeah, generally I've found that that with the Trinov, just that optimizer button, as soon as you press that button, generally it will make a bad room sound good. Um, so as you all know, that's
yeah,
I guess the takeaway without getting too technical because I'm not extremely technical, to a point. But that button, that magic button, I don't think any of us
yeah.
know the magic behind it. But that,
Yeah.
as you know, I'm sure you've pressed that optimizer button and then listened, and then press the optimizer button again and then listened, and it's unbelievable. Um, so
How are you finding waveforming?
loving it, absolutely
Yep.
loving it. What it did for my room, see, because if anyone's seen my channel, I'm not sure if there's any crossover audience here, but I've gone on a big journey because my room is quite small. It's only 3.6 meters wide. I don't know what that translates to. It's like 10 feet or something wide.
10, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what mine is.
yeah, it's not very wide, and 4.6 meters deep. Plus, I lost a bit because I created an infinite baffle
12.
for my front speaker wall, and I had a lot of suck out around 50 to 70 hertz. And as you know, that's prime bass, like that's explosions and
Yeah.
car engines and all kinds of stuff. So the basic thing was that it did for me was I would get once, and I had a mini DSP. I started there with two subs and got them aligned, and I could get the middle chair sounding really good. But now with the five subs, because I have obviously a sub in the wall, and they're generally at the room mode position. So sorry, it's at the room mode. So I'm trying to do it. It's on the quarter axis. So to cancel out room modes, but the thing is, I've got a sub in the center of the room above the wall. And the reason for that is you then have the vertical steering. So what that does, if you're not doing cylindrical waveforming, which generally you just get one row with cylindrical waveforming, with the standard one where it sends the planar wave down the room, what that vertical, again, I could be misspeaking, but this is my understanding from the numerous conversations I've had with people that are in the know and the engineers, is that allows it to terminate the bass at particular points in the room. It helps that process. And so the reason I believe that to be true is because I went from having a single seat with tactile bass to the entire row having pretty much identical. And
Yeah.
I've had my friends over and they basically have come and I've got them to sit in all three chairs, and the bass is identical and it's extremely punchy. The decay time dropped. I wish I had a graph I could put up here, but the decay time dropped significantly, and that's, I guess, the key to waveforming is decay time of the bass. And a lot of rooms will give you a pretty high decay time, even if you have bass traps. I mean, they will help, but the beauty of the active cancellation that you get from the waveforming is that you don't get any of that muddiness, that thickness, that boominess, because the back subs, which work really hard, by the way, like they're running, I think mine are around 7 dB hot to handle. They're working really hard because they have
Yeah.
to cancel out and then they have to push a little bit as well. So I find that there's no bass sound like that thick, heavy bass that you generally can feel when it collects in the back and the corners. The thing with waveforming for me was, and I get really excited about it if you can't tell, is that it just bang, it's like a punch, and it just, you feel it in the chair, and that's it. You don't have that lingering thickness. So for me, waveforming has been probably the biggest, after the Trinov itself. Doing waveforming was probably the biggest upgrade since then.
Yeah. I mean, I have mine. I have mine dialed in somewhere in the middle because I still like a little bit of that thickness in there. So
Yeah,
I've got it.
I kinda
I've got
like
it
it
somewhere in
too.
the middle. Yeah.
You like the fat bass? Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the punch bass.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's just like right in the middle there. Because sometimes it can be a little. I mean, if you pop an Interstellar, I mean that gets real. It gets real hectic. So if you get it right in the middle there, it really does clean everything up, and then it does give a lot more focus to the vocals. So
Definitely.
everybody that complains about I can't hear the dialogue,
Yep.
you might want to check your bass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of cleaning up your bass, is that it improves the rest of the sound. So yeah, and one of my good friends, Mick Stallone, he's got a hi-fi business here in Sydney, and I filmed waveforming at his showroom, and he was just impromptu. He said, just clean, tight, powerful bass, and he's right. Like it came off the cuff, and then he said it also clears up the rest of the sound, and it's so true because that thick boominess, especially like a lot of people I notice, especially with Marantz and Denon, they'll also send the LFE track to their mains,
Yeah,
and yeah, that can give you a big soundstage, like big, but it's also very muddy. I find that creates a very muddy sort of feeling in the room.
right.
And most of the times their speakers aren't designed for that. Like they're not true, full range speakers to even
Sure,
do that.
they can't go past 80. Like 80 is a general crossover,
Yeah.
like that people use. I mean, my MX10s, they've got 10-inch drivers. They can technically go lower, but I still cross them over at 880. That's just the
Yeah.
recommendation.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I know,
I try to
Shane,
r-
you've played around
I
with
try to rip mine as low as they go. But I got the small speakers now, so it's at 80 hertz right now. So I am looking forward to going a bit lower on the Procellas since they have the 15. So I am excited to try that out.
What are you crossing over your mains at? I know they're
I
all
mean
the
everything.
same, but
Yeah, everything's 80 right now
okay.
with the RBHs.
What are they rated down to?
I think like 60 hertz, but
Oh, okay.
there's not too much down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even are you crossing over your heights at 80? Because I went in and changed mine to cross it over at 100. I mean, that's when I talked to Chuck too. He was like, you can rate them down to what your speakers rated, but he's like, which I agreed with him. I wasn't gonna leave them like that because I think I had them crossed over at like 75 hertz or something just to see what it sounded like. But then I crossed them over at 100, and everything else is at 80 hertz.
See, I'll sometimes just run them all. I'll turn off bass management just to, if I'm reviewing speakers or something like that. I'll always run them all full range just to see what it sounds like, how dynamic everything is. If there's bass above my head or in the back of the room, and so you throw in midway, you'll feel those planes going over you without any subwoofers. If those speakers are all limited, obviously it'll just sound like treble going over your head.
Yeah.
Which I've had some speakers that are just all treble. So I mean, it really depends on how big the speakers are, what they're capable of. So
Yeah, the tuning is
that's what I
key,
was doing.
and the speakers that you use are key as well. If
Yeah.
you want a dynamic speak that can do a bigger range. But like I said, for me, the recommendation, and I've been very fortunate because I'm friends with one of the guys that works at Crix, and I get a lot of really good advice from him, and it's just a thing. It's like, we recommend the crossover at 80, and if you calibrate correctly in your subwoofers, like I'm using 12-inch subs. I've got 5 12-inch subs. They don't feel like 12-inch. They feel a lot bigger, especially my room. And with the waveforming, the way it works, they pump like you would not think that they're 12s. But in such a small room and it's pressurized, like it's just it's amazing. Like that, the way that it's set up in my room is I've had people come in, they can't believe that they're only 12-inch subs because of just how much tactile you get. You do miss a little bit. Like 18s will give you that really deep rumble, that real good sort of in the legs. You feel your hairs sort of vibrate a little bit, but
Yeah.
like I think that for my system anyway, crossing over at 80, it's just seemed to work.
What's what do you have any like infrasonics in your room? Like, are you gonna
No,
go down that route or?
I am absolutely
Yeah.
like
Okay.
I can't say too much, but I am building another room for myself, not in my house, somewhere else. I can't say
Hey.
too much about it. This is going to be a big room, and Crix have announced, and they've brought them out. They're bringing out these dual opposing 18-inch infra subs, and I've experienced these. I went to the launch of them last year, and these things are nuts. And yeah, basically, because Crix do the MX speaker wall, I don't know if you've seen them, the wall of sound they call it.
Yeah.
And basically now you can get those with infrasonics in them, so you can order them with them. So my next room that I'm building will have them in the speaker wall. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I will go.
Yeah.
Definitely am planning to do the infrasonic route because as anyone that has felt infrasonics before, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I've got mine. I've got my infra sub crossed over. I think at like 40 hertz. It goes from 40 hertz on below.
Is that
Like,
no? I'm assuming that you probably got.
no, I've got an RBH 21.
Okay.
It's like a 400-pound sub. So
Thing's massive.
Yep.
it's
Yep.
yeah.
I heard it at M-Wave last year. Yeah, that room was actually sounded really really good. I was surprised because that was the first time I had heard RBH, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that they were going to be here. So I went in there and I was like, dang, this room is slamming. Actually, the sub that Shane has is the same one that they had at that show. So
Yeah, luckily they didn't beat it to death.
yeah,
I'd love to go to that show, but I've never been to the States, so I have to come one
yeah.
day.
I don't think they're doing it this year.
Yeah, I think Youth Man's not involved in it anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think Ryan's doing it. I don't know why, but I think I guess he's got too much on his plate, and maybe next year I don't know.
I guess we'll see. Well, before we exit and come on to an hour, why don't we just name a couple of our demo scenes that we like to use when we're testing out, or what do we use when we want to impress the friends?
Oh yeah, I can speak to that straight away. Darkstar in Maverick, definitely. That's one of the best, especially when he punches those special afterburnery thingies. I don't know what they're called, but when he goes into that really fast mode, that's really good. I also like the Batman. I think the Batman 1 hour 18 minutes in, that whole car chase scene is absolutely nuts. It's also great for demoing the video capabilities. If you've got a video processor, a JVC, or
Yeah.
something that do really good blacks, that's a very, very good scene. There's a lot of tactile in that. You will feel and hear a lot of positional sound as well. So it's not just the bass. It's not. It's a lot to do with positional sound. I mean, we've talked a lot about Trinov today with the bass, but I think it's a whole package. It's what it does for your whole frequency range, and obviously the John Wick Part 3, the shotgun scene, that's also insanely good for waveforming. And then if you're looking at music, because music's a great way to demonstrate the fidelity of your system, I like to use A Star Is Born. Obviously, the two songs that she sings in there, Lady Gaga, they're really good, and also The Greatest Showman, where she's in the white dress and she's singing on the stage. That is, whew, that's really good. That's pretty much a full coverage of demos, I
Yeah.
think, from bass to highs, mids, positional sound.
I thought you were going to say Underworld.
I put that in every single one of my demos, but that's more for video,
Yeah.
to demonstrate black levels.
What do you got, Haterade?
So yeah, I do I don't know, everybody's gonna give me hate for it, but you know, I do the Ready Player One because you get everything on that. You get the bass, you get the mid range, you get the height stuff, and all that stuff. I've been using lately the very beginning of Cloverfield, even though it's like I think it's DTS. That thing slams, man.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've got if you've sometimes it kind of scares me because I'm with my neighbors, but I use that one. And that one actually has a lot of deep bass in it, but the very opening scene really slams. I'll use either A Quiet Place 1 or 2, just for the atmospherics, and they have some really good height activity. Opening of The Greatest Showman. I also like. I know it's not like the deepest for bass, but I still like the Top Gun Maverick scene. So either the 2 minute and 30 seconds or whatever it was, or the one at the end when they're actually like in the dogfight. That one's pretty good. Let me see what else. There's a couple other ones that I had added. Oh, Tenet. And even though that one's not like Dolby Atmos or DTS:X, the opening of Tenet, actually the whole movie sounds really good, but the opening
Yeah.
of Tenet is really really expansive and has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of good deep bass. I really love that opening scene.
Mind you, Tenet is probably Christopher Nolan's best movie. You guys keep sleeping on it.
I love that. I don't know if it's
No,
his best, but
I've seen
I
it
love it.
multiple times. It's
Yeah.
a great movie.
We just watched it last week. My friends came over. They wanted to watch it, and that's probably my 10th viewing, and I'm still like, wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
You learn new things in that movie every time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
every time.
Definitely. Love that movie.
Every
though.
time.
What about you,
What-
Shane? What's your demos? You see, I'm making notes here.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a demo whore. I need as many demos as I can get.
I will say, I know one I haven't seen him use in a while. He used to use it a lot of time. What's the war movie with the bass?
Fury?
Yeah, he used to use
Oh,
Fury.
Fury,
I don't see you use that very much anymore.
Yeah.
It got
yeah.
over-
I still-
it got
That
overplayed.
one's crazy though.
Yeah, the tank scene, it got overplayed, I think.
Yeah, I had to put it to rest for a little bit. I mean, I came out with a video. We had a video, I think, 2 weeks ago. One of the best ones I don't think a lot of people check out is, especially if you're a horror fan, it's going to be Brightburn. It's very atmospheric. It's right up there with like A Quiet Place type of thing. It's essentially evil Superman, the origin of an evil Superman. When
I
he's a
don't do
kid.
horror. I don't do horror.
Yeah, that one looked really creepy though. Like,
It's well, is it really horror? It's just he's
Yeah, it
just
looks
a
horror.
really it's a really bad boy, is what he is.
My threshold's very low. The most I'll go is, I don't know if you saw it, it was Arcadian, the new one with Nicolas Cage. And that one was
haven't
too
seen that one.
too much for me. I watched the whole thing, but it was too much. It was very, very good. Starts out with very shaky camera, but the story, oh man, I was hooked. I had to watch it, even though I don't do horror. Really good audio as well, especially if you upmix. Because that's one thing we didn't really talk about with the Trinov is how good the upmixing is. Like
Yeah.
neural layer upmixing is just nuts. So you watch a
Or-
DTS track and it's just, yeah.
Do you prefer DTS-X over Dolby
Yes.
Surround Up Mixer? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
I do the same thing too.
what about
VM.
RO3D? Do you guys use the upmixer? Because I hear a lot of people say that's really really good.
A lot of people do with Trinov use the Oro 3D. I don't at all.
Yeah, I don't use it either. Sorry, guys. I mean, it's like you have to, because their placement is like it's got to be like
It's
on the
weird,
side
yeah,
walls or in the front wall.
and
Yeah,
angled down.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't. I
You
mean, my
need
tops are.
like a dome,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But Shane, that movie you're talking about, isn't that kind of like, I don't know if you follow the comments, but it seems like that's kind of like the Superman Red Sun where he's raised by like Soviets, so where he ends up being kind of, I know it's not the same thing, but same kind of premise where, in that movie he's raised by, obviously, the government's evil, but I don't think they're evil in that movie, but he
Oh,
just turns
like
out to be evil, right? His parents.
oh yeah. He just, when you're a kid and you maybe you find out you have some powers and you might want to, take advantage of that. He took advantage of it and he turned out to be evil.
Is that
I
like
mean, he was
Cron-
raised by good parents, kind of like Ma Kent and Pa Kent type of characters, parents, and then he was just a rotten kid. What can you say? I mean, there's just like A Quiet Place. It's got that big atmosphere. Him like zipping in and out when he's flying through the house, going through different windows, smashing into people or dropping cars from above. I mean, you hear it in the top speakers. Psh, it's pretty good. It's
pushing me
really
here
good.
to be game enough to press play. I look at that poster and I'm like, no, I can't do it. But
It's a
like
fun.
as soon as I hear these magic words about placement and things, it's like, ooh, I need to
I
hear
mean,
them.
you know what? I want to say the past few horror movies. Listen, I'm not a horror fan myself, but
I can't do
the
horror.
past few horror movies, they've been like 10 out of 10 audio mixes. I mean, they're so good.
Kind of have to be though, right? Because that's
Yeah.
part of the. That's the. I mean, that's what. How else are you going to convey certain things? Placement's a big thing in audio. So I don't watch any horror, so I don't know. But I did forget when I was going to say. Also, I'll put on Godzilla versus Kong. That movie just sounds big and very expansive. I love the way that they do the reverb in that because there's the monsters are so big. So that
Is it the last one?
no, that's Godzilla X Kong. That
Okay.
one was horrible. The audio on
Yeah,
that was
that's
such
bad.
trash. I think we both reviewed that when we were like, "This is bad."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Godzilla versus Kong sounds incredible. What
King
else
of
you
the
got, Shane?
Monsters. King of the
Yeah, I always forget
Monsters.
about that one.
Awesome.
It's just mega
Skull
bass.
Island.
Those movies, mega bass.
Yeah,
That too. Was Skull Island, that first attack. I mean, when he's taking steps, you can hear his footsteps kind of come over you and then hit you right in the front stage. Boom. While the choppers and stuff are flying overhead. That's really cool. I haven't seen that in a while, but that's a pretty memorable one. Obviously, like Man of Steel, still one of my favorite ones. And any one of the Dunes, of
oh yeah,
course.
I forgot
Oh,
about that one.
Dune
How
2.
could I forget about that one? Yeah, Dune 2 is great.
Yeah.
I put that one on too.
There's a good scene in June 2 if you want the timestamp. It's around 44 minutes in. It's not loud. It's actually very quiet, but you hear the sound of the spice rustling over the sand dunes. So if you want to hear the detail, and that was something that I always demo for people, is it's about 43 minutes in June 2.
Yeah.
If you write that down, it's a really
If
good
you're
call.
That scene in the ornithopter as well, when him and his mom is escaping, we can hear all the debris
Yeah.
falling against the windows and stuff. Yeah, that's good too. Just that the little subtleties are really good. I still use A Quiet Place all the time. It's still one of my go-tos. So I do have a top 10 on the channel, guys, that we put up 2 weeks ago. So definitely check that out. But we are at 1 hour now, guys. What do you guys got coming up? Hatoraid, what do you got coming up?
So tomorrow, and actually after I get off here, I got to get all my gear together. I'm actually filming a home theater tour. I think it's about 45 minutes to an hour away from me. It's a JTR home theater, so I'll be filming that tomorrow. Hopefully that'll be out sometime next week. And then in the future, I've got to do the... Actually, I just finished the script on the two Hammer 15s that I have with the Mac Theatron, so I'll be incorporating the 21-inch with that. And then I have the Mad VR and the QB1000 that I'll have to do. That's probably going to be a little bit further out. And then I have I think one of the projectors, I think XJimmy that I have to... I'm not too excited about that, but I still got to shoot
Do
the
it.
the review for it.
Do it.
So that's pretty much what
Nice.
I got on my plate.
What do you got coming up, Tony?
I've been in projector mode for a little while now, so I've filmed an NZ. We call them NZ 900. I've got in my room right now, and that thing is an absolute monster of a projector. I've pretty much filmed it, so I'm editing that one. Should go live today or tomorrow. I filmed last night. I was at my friend's place. We got together and I filmed the new Christie 4K 860 projector. That thing is an absolute weapon, 8,000 lumens. So that one's coming up on the channel. And also a couple of smaller ones. I did the BenQ GP520, which is a little lifestyle projector. So I don't discriminate. Like everyone goes, oh, you're pushing Trinov and all these high things. It's like, no. If you look at my channel, most of them are small lifestyle projectors because I think home theater is for everyone. So yeah, that's it. No home theater tours. I haven't done one in a while. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just keep pushing on. You guys know the game. You're only as good as your next video.
And
Yes,
also,
indeed, yes,
somebody's saying they feel like they got robbed because we're not showing any content. Hey man, we're just talking about our experiences. We're not trying to sell you anything right now. So
I can show
Oh, it's okay.
that door, and I can show my Trinov. It's in that door, just over there. I'd have to move the light. If you really want to see it, I can show you.
and I've been doing the Trinov experience where I've been showing like the GUI and the base management and stuff. I think I have another video that I'll probably do. So hey man, go check that out. Like if you want to see that stuff, and I mean, go back and look on Shane's channel. He's got I don't know how many videos on Trinov and live streams. So no excuse, man.
I've got a
Yes,
few
indeed.
videos on Trinov.
Yeah, Tony too.
Yeah, not as many as
Listen.
you guys, but yeah.
We're all Trinov shills, so not a secret.
Yeah,
not a
this
secret.
live stream is paid for. We're all making big bucks off this.
Oh, there comes the helicopter with my big bag of money right now. I can see it
Like Lost.
over there.
Well, all right, guys, thanks for checking out this video. If you have any questions, make sure you leave some comments for us. If you want to subscribe to Jordan's channel, Hatoraid Cowboy, or to Tony's channel, Build Montage, there will be some links down below in this video's description. If you want to pick yourself up a Trinov, there will also be some links down below in this video's description.
There it is.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you again in the